Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So on today's video I'm going to be answering more of your questions that you've had. This time it's from Ailish Neil. I hope I've said that correctly. I'm just going to double check. Yes, Ailish Neil, and also Sharon Drives and asked a similar question, and the question is, how do I manage my time? What does a typical uni week look like? What does a typical placement week look like? So again, this is my experience. Some universities have more or less tutorials, lectures, all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to me, if I'll take a university week, first of all, what happens is I get up at 5, I leave at 6, and sometimes I'm lucky enough to have some wonderful car shares. I totally recommend that as much as you possibly can. Get a car share. And we travel up the road. So if we were to start at 9, we'd be leaving at 6. If we start at 10, we leave at 7. And then we go up to Aberdeen and then spend our times at university. Within that time, because I know that some of you were asking about children, my lovely husband, Damien, he actually takes the kids to a childminder for 8 a.m. So he leaves about 7:45, drops them off at the childminder, and then goes on to his work. Coming back the way, depending on when I finish, if I finish at 3 or something like that, I can probably just about make it in time. The children go to an after school club from 3 until 6. And then I pick them up. If I leave at 3, I'm potentially getting there about sort of 5:45 to actually pick them up, take them home, and then it's the usual chaos of home and bath, bed, that kind of thing. Tea, bath, bed. I'm very fortunate the kids club that I go to do give them a substantial snack to keep them going until 6 o'clock when tea would be ready. So that's essentially how a day goes. If it's the case where I don't finish until 5, then it is the case where once again Damien picks up the slack and he is there picking up the children for me. That is essentially how I've managed to work it. It works really well, and for the most part I'll have, I'll definitely have a Friday off, so I've not had to worry about that. I'll take the kids to school, pick them up from school, and all as well, but I may also finish slightly earlier on some days, or maybe just have an hour or 2 hours, so maybe finishing at 11, and then I'm home in time to grab the kids from school or grab them at a more appropriate time, because this is the thing as well, as mothers, that we just think, oh well, as I'm home I better just get the kids straight away from school. But bearing in mind you're still working, so you've still got your tutorial sort of homework to do, you've still got some research to do, you've probably got plans to do if you're on placement. So what I would say is give yourself that time. I mean, it's not a jolly for you, it's not like you're just sitting around watching Netflix or something. This is really important and key time that you can spend really researching or reading up, and it also means that if you do it then you're not taking away time from the kids at the weekend. Just on that, I'm going to be really honest, when it came to assessment, and when it does come to assessment, I'm probably spending about 4 or 5 hours each day at the weekend researching, reading, writing for the assessment. So but it's a finite block of time. But you know, I'm not as clever as other people, and I can't do assessments in a week, so it does take me a long time to do it. I don't know if that's just because that's the kind of person I am, or because I'm older. I've no idea, but regardless, I do spend quite a bit of the time away from the kids at the weekend, you know, trying to study. Have had mixed results where I've been studying in the house, and then I've had to sometimes go out of the house. Once again, I'm very fortunate that Damien has you know, taken the kids and, you know, entertained them. If you're doing it on your own, may I recommend that you just cut out blocks of time. Yes, you can do it once the children are in bed, but you're actually going to be exhausted. But bearing in mind, I mean, sort of 5 hours of my day is spent travelling. So if you don't have that, then you've actually got a whole lot more time than I did. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts. So hopefully that will answer your question. Sharon, I'm just going to double check. Yeah, so Sharon did say that she's wondering about how much family time. You do fit it in. As mothers, we're very, very, very good at multitasking. But you have to carve out that time, and you have to make sure that you've got time for uni, time for the kids, and even if it's just 20 minutes for you, because it's such a small sliver that you really have, but hopefully that will help and has answered your question. Okay, so that's when I'm at university. What about when I'm at placement? Well, I'm very fortunate. Your placement can be up to 90 minutes away, but I am very, very fortunate that both of my placements have literally been on my doorstep. They've been very, very close to me. I do think they've taken into account the fact that I have children, childcare, all that kind of stuff. So when I'm on placement, it's usually the case where I drop the kids off at 8 o'clock and then just go straight to school. And then when I finish school, usually I would say I probably finish about 5:30 most days, and then I just go and pick the kids up. So it gives Damien a little bit of a breather. I'm sure he'll appreciate that little bit of breather when I'm on placement. But if I have late nights or, you know, something else that I need to do extended research on or something like that, then again he'll pick the kids up. Certainly for me, placement has been easier in terms of juggling and managing my time. However, what I would say is that, you know, although I'm staying there till sort of 5:30, certainly in the earlier stages I was still, you know, spending about 14-hour days to make sure I'd done the lesson plans, I'd done my daily reflections, I'd made sure, you know, all my details were put on the prop forms, on the SPRs. All these acronyms I'm throwing at you will make sense later. I might just do it at the end of this video. Okay, so I'm gonna do these questions as well from Nicola. I think this is just about getting to the end of your questions. You've been brilliant. I've loved it. She has asked, how do you stop a dry mouth when you talk to the class? And I think this will probably go in line with some of the other questions that you've got. What did you do whilst observing? Did you take notes? Did you get involved? Yes, so those kind of things, I'm going to roll that all into one. So what I would say is when you are observing, I'm very fortunate that in my first placement I got to observe for 2 weeks before I actually was jumping into the teaching side of things. What I did when I was observing was just helped the teacher out as much as possible, you know, followed her sort of techniques, looked at how she was teaching, how the children were reacting, what she was doing that seemed to be working really, really well, and what she was doing that maybe, you know, we'd both go back and go, I think there's another way to do that. and yeah, just making sure that, you know, literally, I was a bit of an assistant at that time. You know, I love my sharpening of pencils. I've got an OCD thing about that. That will go, I'm sure, when I'm actually a teacher. But just helping out as much as possible, seeing where I was needed. I think initially at the observation stage, it did get to the point in time where I took the register and they started to get really familiar with me. I would say I tried to develop relationships at that point with the children. So it meant that actually when it came time to talking to the children, they knew me and I knew them, and I wasn't as nervous. It really did make a difference. I think sort of, you know, weaning you in slowly is a really good way to go. In the second placement, I'm literally going to be jumping straight in there. So taking a couple of smaller groups. But what I would say is that I am really following the teacher closely, in terms of her behaviour management, in terms of her expectations, in terms of her positive praise, catch them being good, all those kind of things. You know, just trying to mirror it as much as possible, and supporting the teacher as much as I possibly can. Yeah, so you just create a bond, and bearing in mind that you're the person that knows this subject, and they're not going to ask you any awkward questions that you don't know. And if they do, well, you just be really honest with them and say, do you know what, I don't know, let's look that up together, or where could we find that out, and just, you know, throw it back and go, right, well, this is something that I don't know. Let them see you as a learner as well. You know, if they feel that you are the be all and end all, you're all knowing, it can take away some of their independence, because they think, oh well, you know, only the teacher knows. But actually, if you show yourself as a learner, then they become much more independent and go, oh, I think I don't know that answer, you know, what would the teacher say? So it helps to build up that relationship. In terms of planning, seeing the teacher's plans, I've had sort of different results. Some plans that I've seen really, really in depth, and other ones I've not quite seen yet. But I get an idea of how the teacher plans, and they generally have their timetable set up. If you're lucky, they'll have the learning intention and success criteria in each of the sort of periods of time, and then you can sort of go from there. I try to work together with my teachers and plan together. So if they're doing something, I'm trying to plan where I can support. If I'm doing something, I'm trying to plan what I'm doing and where I could use support or not have the support, dependent on where that teacher is. Because bear in mind that as you're taking more and more full class responsibility, that teacher may be pulled away to cover other classes, to do other things. So it might not be the case that you will have your supporter teacher there all the time. In fact, it should be the case where they're not there all the time, and you're getting more and more independent in your learning. Hopefully that's helped. Just before I go, I am going to sort of identify these acronyms that I was throwing at you. So daily reflections is exactly as it sounds, but Aberdeen University require you to reflect daily on your teaching practice, what you learned, what you did well, what went not so well in your practice, and what SPR you achieved. So SPR is your standards for provisional registration, and that's set out by the General Teaching Council of Scotland. And basically it's all the sort of ticky boxes that you've got to have covered and provide evidence for. So in your daily reflections, you should be thinking about what areas have I covered, and that is split up over, so you've got professional values and professional commitment, professional knowledge and understanding, things to do with the curriculum, education systems and professional responsibilities, and also professional skills and abilities. And this is about teaching and learning, classroom organisation and management and pupil assessment. So more the sort of practicality. So it's like the professional values and professional commitment is more about your theory side of things, so your social justice and you know, inclusion and all those kind of things. Then moving on to the next part, your knowledge and skills. It's much more about the curriculum. It's much more about, you know, the working documents, policies, those kind of things. And then your third one is your professional skills and abilities. So that's your actual doing of it. So as an SPR, you'll be, and you're given that, so you know what to sort of look for, and to try and evidence that as much as possible every single day. The other thing that I said was your prop form, and it's a professional record of progress. I think I'll put that down if it's not. And in your prop form, you're expected to fill one out every week and then send it to your tutor. And basically, it goes through your standards for provisional registration. So you go through your strengths, 3 of your strengths, and then 3 of your areas for development. Then your support teacher goes through that, puts her recommendations in there, and then you sort of talk about it together and see if there's any adjustments that you need to make, and then you send it off to your tutor and to your support teacher, so they've got it for their records. So hopefully that all helps. Let me know if there's any other questions below. Thank you for all your comments on YouTube. That's been amazing. It's really allowing the video to be ranked and for more people to see it. But in the meantime, guys, don't forget to be best you can be. Bye.